God created everything out of nothing, right? We've heard that, we know that from the book of Genesis. And also, we see scientists, and what do the scientists say? They say that one day all these molecules out of a dark, void, formless earth just magically appeared, got together, and we have the universe that we have today. Well, what do we know? We know what it says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. What does that sound like? That sounds very strangely familiar from some of the descriptions of the Big Bang. Void, formless, dark, deep. And so it says, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. But did God let it stay that way? He certainly did not. It says that as he hovered over the face of the waters, in verse 3, then God said, let there be light. And there was light. So think about this. God, in response to God's voice, the molecules, the darkness, the void, the dust, all of these molecules at the command of the God of the universe leapt into action and obedience to create the world that we know today. So God created the beginning. He created that. He created the order out of nothing. And then also he saw the void and the darkness and he did something about it. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? That sounds amazing. So what do we learn from this? Number one, we learn that the light molecules are more obedient than we are as Christians oftentimes. Because when God said it, they did it. And then also, what do we learn? We learn that, you know what? We read this account and it sounds like everything just jumped into motion. But the difference between us and the scientific world is that we know the cause was the voice of God. But also, this can give us extreme hope and joy because we believe this. But we have to make the decision to believe that in the New Testament, when Jesus says, hey, you're forgiven, you're redeemed because of my sacrifice on the cross, we have to believe that. That just as we believe that when God said, let there be light, there was light, we have to believe that when God says, let us be saved, because of our repentance and our forgiveness and our trust in Him, that, man, we are saved. We are joyful. We are redeemed. We are peaceful. And we look at this, and God brought order to that dark and void world. And so if we want order in our life, we have to get rid of the sin in our life. And we have to hold and cling on to the commandments and the law of God, because think about light molecules. Isn't it wonderful to have light? The only way that was possible was through the commandment of God for there to be light. So when we're afraid of God's commandments and His direction for our life, we have to remember this light. That when we fall in line with the order of God, we receive the blessing of God on our life. So the question you have to ask yourself today as a Christian, if you're depressed, if you're downtrodden, if you're sad, here's the thing. Have you believed the promises of God as strongly as you have believed that God created the heavens and the earth? Have you believed that? And then secondly, if your life and my life is in chaos, then we have to ask ourselves the question, have we trusted the directions of an orderly God who wants to order good in our lives? And if we do that every time, we can trust Him to do the work. And then also, what do we see here? We see that God said, let there be light. And guess what happened? The light fell in place. So we have to follow and be faithful the next step God gives us. But guess what? He is going to empower us to complete that step to the finish. So we have to realize that, number one, are we living that lifestyle? Are we believing God for who He is? That when He says things, it's not just words that are not backed up by actions, but it's life-changing if we can trust Him. And that, number one, if He created the beginning, guess what He can do in your life and my life? He can create a new beginning in both of our lives. But what we have to do is we have to trust His word. We have to follow him, and we step out in faith into the void darkness, and we will see our lives begin to change. So if you enjoy this uplifting content, make sure you subscribe, like this, share this, and may God bless your day.